guys, my name is Jared and I'm a singer on a cruise ship. And today I wanted to talk with you a little bit. Before I get started, I'm excited. First of all, today my steward left me this. So I'm have a very fun contract where I get a steward a couple times a week. And he left me, I think, a shrimp today is what I think this is. So I would love if anybody wants to name that, go ahead, because I'm definitely not going to take it apart. It's going to live here with me for the rest of the contract. Today I wanted to talk with you a little bit about a funny experience that I had with a guest. And before I do that, I want to say my name is Jared Kate. I am a cruise ship performer, and these videos are all about what it's like to live and perform on a cruise ship and what you might need to audition for cruise ships and any other type of performance specific type auditions. I have 4 cruise contracts under my belt and about 18 years of performing experience to speak from. So, thanks for coming. If this is your first time here, please leave a like, subscribe. We'd love to have you stay on. But like I said, I'm going to look at my notes now. A few days ago, I was leading a backstage tour, which I have to do as part of my normal contract. Usually, about once a week, I lead a backstage tour for some diamond guests, people who have been loyal to Royal is the way we put it, and they are a little higher up. They've been on a bunch of cruises, so they get like special discounts and stuff like that. And one of the cool things that they get to do is they get to go on a backstage tour, and I get to lead that. And then I usually will answer questions at the end. It's super, super fun. I really enjoy it. But a few days ago, I had a guest just kind of off the cuff ask me why I'm not performing on Broadway, right? And that's usually how they say it, is they're like, "Why aren't you on Broadway? Like, you're so good, da 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 da." And I was like, "Thank you so much. That's very nice of you. It's very sweet. I really like it here, working for Royal, but I appreciate it. But it is a great question to talk about, because I feel like a lot of people think that if you aren't working on Broadway or the West End or something like that, then you may not have made it, right? You might not be a professional if you haven't like hit these really specific markers. And I would love to go over some pros and some cons of working on cruise ships as opposed to possibly working in a place like New York or London, right? But also, I hope that you can leave this video with an understanding that working is the point of being a professional performer, right? Just because someone isn't in a specific place or doing a specific type of show does not mean that they are any lesser than someone who is, doing that big, big show in the city, right? They might be working at an amusement park. They might be working like in Branson, where I started, or in Reno, or something like that, or in Vegas, right? And there's lots of different ways that you, as a dancer, or a singer, or an actor, can truly make your mark in the industry. And it doesn't just have to be in the big city. Obviously, some people have that as a big goal. I have that as a big goal, right? It's something that I would love to do. I'd love to move to New York, and I'd love to audition and get to perform on Broadway. It sounds amazing, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm doing what I love right now and getting paid a full-time pay for it, right? So let's talk about some of the pros and the cons of working on a cruise ship as a performer versus working somewhere else like on land, right? So travel opportunities first and foremost. Now this is shared a little bit with a national tour or something like that, but if you're a cruise ship performer, you'll have the chance to visit super, super exotic locations and experience all kinds of different cultures, right? From the Caribbean to the Mediterranean, from Australia to China to Korea to Alaska, right? Anywhere around the world that touches the ocean is a possibility for a cruise ship performer, especially obviously if they have a port. There's lots of normal ones where there's a little bit more traffic, but especially for those smaller ships, they can get to places that other airplanes can barely get to sometimes. So there really is a ton of possibilities if traveling is something that's important to you, right? Next up would be variety of styles, right? So cruise ships offer a diverse range of performances, musical theater, um, pop, rock, jazz, right? Folk sometimes, depending on the line. As a performer, you have the opportunity to showcase your versatility and try new things with each contract, right? I've done a bunch of contracts, and in each one, there has been something new that I've gotten to learn or kind of digest as a performer and get to give to the audiences that I get to perform in front of, right? There's a ton of stuff that has been different about each contract. On this one, I'm getting to do a lot more bit acting than I have in other ones, right? There's little characters that I get to play a lot more often in some of these shows, and I really enjoy that. And that's something that I wouldn't have gotten to do if I was just doing the same thing over and over and over again, if I was on one show all the time, right? If I was doing a show on Broadway. Next up is obviously the community that you build working on a cruise ship. That brings a strong sense of community among performers and crew members, right? There's a ton of people that you get to meet when you're here and a ton of different cultures that you get to interact with. Now, this next one is possibly the biggest one. It's one of the reasons that a lot of people do cruise ships, and that's savings. Getting to live and eat on the ship means a huge amount of savings, and even things like gas are a non issue while traveling. When I decided to do my first cruise ship, I was working in Missouri. I owned a home and a truck, and I sold those things, right? I sold my house, I sold my truck, and I got on a ship and I put everything that I didn't just spend, right? Just like buying water or internet, which is a con sometimes, but water and stuff like that, and I folded it up and I put it in my pocket and I use it for other things that I want to use it for or get to use it for instead of having to need to use it for stuff like gas or food or uh, rent payment. All of those things become non-issues when you work on a cruise ship, and that is very, very helpful. Now obviously you could have those things, you could be paying a rent payment, and I know some people who do, but for me, luckily, I was able to stay away from that while I've worked on the ship. So now let's talk about a few cons, right? So time away from home. This one is hard, right? Performing as a cruise ship on a cruise ship requires spending extended periods at sea. You're not going to see your family a lot, right? You will get to see them a lot during your breaks. If you go home, if you stay at home, obviously you're going to be living with your loved ones and spending time with them then, but there's going to be 6 to 8 months a year where you're not around, and they might come visit you once or twice, maybe even 3 times, right? Who knows? But ultimately, most of the time, you're going to be here on the ship with the people that are here on the ship, and they're going to be away from you. And so, if you are super, super close with your family and don't feel like you could be away for a long period of time like that, this might not be the gig for you, right? Next up would be repetition. Now, I know I said variety was a pro, but once you're on a ship, you're doing the stuff that you were contracted to do on the ship. And that might mean the same, 20 or 30 songs once a week for 8 months, right? That's what I'm doing right now, right? I enjoy all of our sets for different reasons. And as a performer, you find ways to enjoy the songs in different ways as you grow in them, right? One um, part of the contract, you might be just focusing on really getting everything honed in, and then you might start to notice little details that change as the season goes and as the contract goes, and like, oh, I never really noticed that they do that, or oh, I should really focus on making sure that this is a little bit different because I like it better when it's this way. Little details that you can choose to focus on that can help you stay in the moment with the shows. But it can be difficult sometimes. You can just feel like, oh my gosh, I've just done 6 months of this and I still have two more. And what is tomorrow? Okay, let's do it. Sounds great. But hopefully you're able to get more involved and deepen your understanding of what you're doing and making yourself a better performer because of it, right? um, Next up can be the confined living space, right? It's a small place to live. Even if you're on, if you're on a huge ship, you're still going to live in a cabin. It's not going to be, you're not going to have a house unless some people have like a one bedroom apartment is about as big as it gets on a cruise ship. And that's for just a few people who maybe are driving the ship or like the managers of the ship, right? HD, the hotel director, and stuff like that. But for the most part, you're going to have one room, possibly a roommate, and you'll have your bed and you'll have your shower and your bathroom, and you'll have a closet. You might have a chair, you might not. And you'll have a telephone, and that'll be about it. And you have maybe a desk that you might share with someone, and that's about it. And then everything else is outside, and you're sharing that with everybody. When you want to go eat, you're going to the mess. If you want to do laundry, you're going to where a bunch of people do laundry, and you're kind of vying for, okay, I'm going to use this washer and then I'll use that dryer later. And that's kind of the lifestyle of living on what is essentially just a tiny little community floating in the ocean, right? So if you're not as into that style of living as you might think that you might be, then you're maybe not gonna love it that much. But I really like it. I really enjoy this lifestyle. I like having not a ton of things. I like having things that do multiple things instead of just having one purpose for one thing. Maybe this thing does this, this, and this. And I really enjoy that kind of minimalist living mindset. Now I say that like I don't have, 100 things or whatever. I could definitely like pare down, but I have enjoyed it so far and might go more in the future. And so it brings us to like the verdict of the video, right? So performing on a cruise ship offers a unique blend of travel, sometimes job security, right? Once you're in with a line, a lot of times they will use you again. They might not, but a lot of times they will, and they will ask you where you'd like to go next, and that just kind of gives them an idea of what they could give to you, what they could offer you, and then you might spend a few contracts with them, or you might move around a lot. I've done some moving, I've done some staying. There's a mixture of both in the industry, right? Um, Unfortunately, all those good things, it also requires time away from home and limited career um, advancement opportunities sometimes. Ultimately, whether performing on a cruise ship is right for you depends on your individual priorities and goals, right? Are you a family person, or do you have a family? That could mean the difference between you doing this job and not, right? If you're not able to leave for 6 to 8 months, this might not be the job for you, right? If you are able to kind of pick up and take your life and put it on a ship, then this is great, right? This is a perfect environment for that. Do you have the emotional stability to work on a ship? It can be really difficult emotionally sometimes, of just, you're dealing with people, and it's not quite the same when you have an issue with someone on a ship as it is on land, right? If you have an issue with someone on land, you can leave and you can go home, or you can go out to eat at this restaurant, or you can go like to the gym over here, or you can just drive, right? When you're here, you cannot do that. You're here on the ship, and you will probably see that person again, and hopefully you can both be adults about it, and if you're having a really hard time with someone, you can communicate and figure that out, or at least treat each other as professionals and leave it there. But you can't get away. That's just a part of the job, right? So if that is something that you struggle with, you might not want to do this job. So as a performer, it's essential to weigh the pros and cons and carefully consider what matters most to you, whether you choose to take stage on land or at sea. You just have to remember that as long as this is your passion, you should go for it, right? If you think this is the thing that you want to do, then you should keep practicing. You should keep auditioning, right? You should keep looking for all the jobs. Maybe cruise ships aren't the thing for you right now, but they might be in the future, right? Or maybe they're what's perfect for you right now, and then going back on land might work better for you after that is done. Yeah. So guys, my name is Jared Kate. Like I said, thank you so much for watching. I'm excited. I'm using a new camera app, so let me know if it looks good. Let me know if the audio is good. I'm using a microphone right now. It's just a little desk microphone that I picked up at GameStop of all places. So, shout out to GameStop, I guess, if they're still open by the time I upload this. And let me know if you like the video. I would love to know what you'd like for me to talk about. If you have any questions, if there's anything I can help you with, I would love to be a resource for you. But again, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.